Chapter 822. However, the officer told her that since she was the prime suspect of a major transnational case, she was not allowed to meet or contact her family, or even hire a lawyer for the time being before the case was tried. The wrath of fury was burning violently inside Elaine, but she couldn't vent it out. After entering the high wall of the detention center, the officer immediately took Elaine to go through detention formalities. It was quite a complicated and complex procedure. Her pictures had to be taken and her identity verified. Next, she had to take off all her clothes and belongings and hand them to the staff, then put on the prisoner uniform and take the daily necessities provided. After Elaine changed into the prisoner uniform, the officers who brought her here had already left. From then on, everything about her was to be managed by the detention center. A female prison guard brought her into the prison area, and as protocol, she explained while walking, "This is a 20-person cell. Wake-up time is at 6 a.m. and the lights will be switched off at 10 p.m. every day. 3 meals will be provided a day and you eat it in your own cell room." Then, she glanced at Elaine and said monotonously, "However, the meals are quantitative, so you may not be full after the meal. If you need any food or daily necessities, you can ask your family to reload some money under your name, then you can use the money to buy things in the canteen inside." "Oh yes, that's great!" Elaine cheered. "When and how do I contact my family?" The female guard suddenly remembered the affairs the police officers told her when they sent Elaine over, so she said coldly, "Oh, I almost forgot that you aren't allowed to contact anyone from the outside since you are a suspect in a major criminal case. So, if you aren't full, just treat it as a diet." Elaine hung her head low, miserable and desperate. She suddenly remembered that Lady Richard and Olivia were put in the detention center too. Would she run into them? She bit her lips nervously. Soon, the anxiety disappeared. So what if she bumped into them? Lady Richard was just a crippled old lady, she could just kick her away if she dared to provoke her. As for Olivia, although the girl was young, she was very delicate and fragile. She bet that the girl couldn't even lift her arms if she put some force on it. If the young lady dared to come up against her, she would just slap her away. At this moment, the prison guard pointed to the cell not far in front and said, "Elaine Richard, that is cell 030, which you will stay in from now on." Elaine nodded hurriedly. At the same time, Lady Richard just calmed down slightly after everyone offered their comfort and support. She didn't expect that these inmates would sympathize with her. She felt relieved and soothed as everyone gathered around her to offer a word of comfort. Olivia felt much better as well than when she had first entered the cell. She always assumed that the detention center would be as cruel and harsh as shown in the movies. It would be filled with bullies who intimidated and harassed the newcomers in all kinds of ways. She didn't expect that it would be so warm inside. At this moment, someone looked at the door and shouted, "There is another newcomer." Outside the iron gate, the female guard opened the cell where Lady Richard was and pushed Elaine into the cell, shouting, "Get inside and repent yourself." The iron gate closed again as soon as Elaine was pushed in. She looked anxiously at the other inmates and found it peculiar as everyone seemed to gather around the lower bunk. What are they doing there in circles? Storytelling? At this moment, Lady Richard, who was surrounded by the crowd, saw Elaine immediately. She trembled in astonishment and roared at the top of her lungs, "Elaine Richard! You've finally fallen into my trap, you bloody shrew."